We'll say a few words in Russian. Уважаемый господин генеральный секретарь, коллеги, мы рады вновь приветствовать вас в Российской Федерации.
Mr. Secretary General, dear colleagues, we are glad to welcome you again in the Russian Federation.
Мы неизменно заинтересованы в укреплении Совета Европы как общеевропейской универсальной организации, организации с уникальными конвенционными механизмами, которые обеспечивают единство правового и гуманитарного пространства от Атлантики до Тихого океана.
We have always interest in strengthening the Council of Europe because this is one of the pan-European universal organizations with unique convention mechanism which ensures the unity of humanitarian and legal space from the Atlantic to the Pacific.
И Российская Федерация продолжает активно участвовать в работе Совета Европы. За последние пару лет мы ратифицировали дополнительно 6 международных правовых актов нашей общей организации.
The Russian Federation continues to actively take part in the work of the Council of Europe. Over the past several years, we have ratified additionally 6 international legal documents of our common organization.
Мы с удовлетворением отмечаем, что 14 июня, в день открытия чемпионата мира по футболу, в Москве состоялась специальная встреча министров спорта, которая была посвящена задачам борьбы с договорными футбольными матчами.
We note with satisfaction that on the 14th of June, on the launching day of the FIFA World Cup, Moscow hosted a meeting between the ministers of sports in order to fight against the fixed football matches.
Признательны также за участие делегации Совета Европы в недавнем Санкт-Петербургском международном юридическом форуме и надеемся, что аналогичным образом Совет Европы будет представлен на предстоящих осенью Евразийском женском форуме и Международном культурном форуме.
We welcome the active participation of the delegation of the Council of Europe in St. Petersburg International Legal Forum, and we also expect active participation in the upcoming fall events in Russia, Eurasian Women's Forum and International Cultural Forum.
И, конечно, в сегодняшней ситуации вклад Совета Европы особенно востребован в сфере защиты прав национальных меньшинств, включая право на обучение на родном языке, в сфере искоренения массового безгражданства и противодействия агрессивному национализму.
In today's situation, the work of Council of Europe and its contribution to the human rights protection and respect is especially important in respect to ethnic minorities and their protection, including the right to study in mother tongue, fighting massive non-citizenship and aggressive nationalism.
Ну и, конечно, сегодня нельзя не упомянуть о системном кризисе, который продолжается в организации в связи с той ситуацией, которая сложилась в Парламентской ассамблее Совета Европы.
Today, I cannot help but mention the systemic crisis in the organization because of the situation that has taken place in the PACE.
И мы очень ценим ваши усилия, господин генеральный секретарь, направленные на то, чтобы найти выход из этой кризисной ситуации. И искать этот выход, конечно же, необходимо на основе тех принципов, которые лежат в основе, которыми руководствуется Совет Европы, которые были заложены отцами-основателями этой организации. Прежде всего, принцип равноправия всех стран-участников.
We appreciate your efforts, Mr. Secretary General, in trying to find a way out of this crisis situation, and the search for the way out of this situation should be based on the principles which were the founding principles of the Council of Europe, enshrined by the founding fathers. First and foremost, that's the equality of all states.
Так что рассчитываю, что все эти вопросы мы с вами сегодня обсудим, и это поможет нам продвигаться вперед.
I do hope that we can discuss all these issues today, and that will help us move on forward.
Добро пожаловать.
Welcome.
Thank you for your kind words. First of all, congratulations for your reappointment. Congratulations for the World Championship going on here in the Russian Federation. I'm not going to watch any of the matches, but I took with me my Puskas tie. I'm too old to play football, but of course I remember very well all the famous players at the time. This was from Hungary. We are here once again to discuss Council of Europe, Russian relations, but I mean, we have to put it into a wider European framework. So many things are changing in Europe now. Worrying signs, but one thing is clear, the European Convention on Human Rights, the whole convention system exists, and this convention system was created. We did it together. It is not true that it was kind of an invention coming from the old democracies in Europe, the so-called New Europe, Old Europe, but the convention system with all its mechanisms and additional conventions were created by the 47 member states, and Russian Federation has contributed a lot to that. For instance, what is very important now, the Medicare Convention, which came about during your chairmanship. Data Protection Convention was, we added a new protocol to that recently, thanks to very good and cooperative negotiations between the European Union and Russian Federation in Strasbourg. So we got a new Data Protection Convention. So there are so many good things happened because Russia joined the Council of Europe, and we must preserve this common legal space from Vladivostok to Lisbon, from the high north to the South Caucasus. And that's why I find it so important that the Russian Federation continues to play an important role in the organization, and I think it's also important for Russia itself. I have here, because you are celebrating now the 20th anniversary of the accession to the convention, and this is a brochure which shows how the judgments of the court has implemented legislation in Russian Federation. Many things can be said about court, and I think all the 47 member states are from time to time dissatisfied with the judgment of this court. But mostly you can see how the judgments have got the other member states to get their legislation in compliance with the European Convention. Because always when a judgment is handed down, then there is a matter of compensation to the individual whose right has been violated, but it is also a general measure which the state in question has to undertake, and these general measures has helped our member states to push the legislation in the right direction, and this brochure is about that, how the convention and the judgment of the court has helped you to modernize and make your legislation more in line with the European standards. So I'm very glad to be here. The European Convention is important for all of us. It's incredibly important that the Russian Federation continues to stay in the European Convention, and I think it's also important for Russian Federation and the citizens of Russia. So thank you. We have a number of issues to discuss.
Я не упомянул о Европейском суде по правам человека, но поскольку вы напомнили об этой инстанции, хочу отметить, что за последние 5 лет количество жалоб в отношении Российской Федерации в ЕСПЧ сократилось в 3,5 раза.
I have not mentioned it in my welcoming word about the European Court for Human Rights, but since you have reminded me about this institution, I would like to say that over the past 5 years, the number of complaints against the Russian Federation has decreased by 3.5.
И поскольку никто и ничто в этом мире не совершенно, мы хотели бы, чтобы и сам суд тоже занимался повышением эффективности своей деятельности и, самое главное, соблюдением принципа субсидиарности, на котором он, собственно, и функционирует.
Since nobody and nothing is perfect in this world, we would like the court to also try to increase its efficiency and first and foremost observe and respect the rule of subsidiarity. And this is one of the principles that it is functioning according to.
Ну и нас не может не тревожить, что из-за упомянутого уже кризиса в Парламентской ассамблее Совета Европы более трети судей нынешнего состава Европейского суда по правам человека избирались без участия делегации российских парламентариев.
Also, we cannot help but be concerned that because of the situation with the pace, more than one-third of the justices elected to the court have been elected without the participation of the Russian Federation delegation.
Поэтому тем важнее ваши усилия и усилия всех тех, кто хочет этот кризис преодолеть на основе лежащих в основании Совета Европы принципов.
Therefore, your efforts and efforts of everyone who is trying to overcome this crisis are ever more important, especially trying to find a solution according to the principles of the COE.